Yes, we can. It was those three simple words that propelled Barack Obama into the US presidency exactly 12 months ago this week. Three words that summed up his optimistic mandate for change in the US, and many believed in the entire politics of the globe. Since that eventful night, depending on who you believe, he's been either busily delivering his ambitious campaign pledges or is the African-American Antichrist leading the US to rack and ruin. Well, for two apparently differing ideological views on Obama's first year as president, I get into between. Well, at least I try to get into between. Arnie Arnesen, a dyed-in-the-wool pro-Democrat radio host from New Hampshire, and aspiring Republican Senator Peter Schiff, the man they call Dr. Doom in the world of US finance. Peter Schiff, Arnie Arnesen, thanks very much for joining us. Arnie, if I could start with you. I mean, I could say, doesn't time fly when you're having fun? I mean, it doesn't seem like a year that Barack Obama's been running the show in America, and some people would say the world. But you were beside yourself when I saw you on election night. Could I ask you this? Yeah. He kept telling us, yes, we can, yes, we can. Have you?
No. And I think that's part of the problem. I mean, we've seen an $800 billion stimulus package that produced or saved about 1 million jobs. While Barack Obama wanted to produce change, the problem is he's in an economic swamp. And you know times are bad when you see something like a GM and a Lehman Brothers going bankrupt, and AIG getting bailed out, and Goldman Sachs rolling in executive compensation packages. So for Barack Obama, it has been a terribly difficult year. And nothing that he wanted to see happen, for the most part, has happened. And things he didn't expect, like the Nobel Peace Prize, they're kind of icing on a cake that's not been baked yet. Yep.
Peter, are you surprised to hear Arnie saying that? I mean, do you think that there was ever any gloss, if you like, on Barack Obama?
Well, he's performed terribly. I mean, he inherited a bad situation, granted, but he repeated all the mistakes of Bush, only on a grander scale. You know, he continued the misguided policy of so-called economic stimulus. The stimulus is the problem. The stimulus is toxic, and it is killing our economy. You know, Barack Obama thinks that we can spend our way out of this recession, that we can borrow our way out of this recession. We can't. The only way out is to do the opposite. We have to save more, invest more, and produce more. That's the only way out. If we continue on this course, inflation is going to keep getting worse. Ultimately, interest rates are going to head skyward as well, and we are going to be in an inflationary...
You can tell he's running for Senate in Connecticut.
Other than that, excuse me, other than that, you can say America's looking pretty good. I mean, you obviously don't agree with Peter, but you haven't been complimentary yourself about the way Obama.
Well, no. Look. Part of the problem is the stimulus package was tepid at best. The problem is it's kind of like you have a waterfall. If the water goes up to here and the waterfall is up here, you never really see the result. He was reluctant to be as aggressive as he needed to be because part of Barack Obama's sort of mindset is he tries to make people work together. You've got a Republican Party that knows only one word: no. It doesn't want to participate. It doesn't want to see results.
Remember,
it wants Barack Obama to fail.
The bigger the stimulus, the more damage it's going to do to the economy.
You're absolutely wrong. That's the problem.
The whole concept is wrong. We can't try to encourage Americans to spend more money. We're broke. And the government can't spend more money. It's broke. We have to stop spending. Unfortunately, we need a recession.
Peter.
A recession is the cure for the disease the government infected us with. We spent too much money because of low interest rates and government programs and subsidies and regulation. We overconsumed as a nation and undersaved. That is the problem.
Peter,
we now have to do the opposite. We have to produce more, which means we have to spend less.
Let me interrupt you there, because to explain to our Australian audience, we have somebody, Peter, who could be Republican Senator Peter Schiff, if things worked out, if the planets aligned for you next year. And Arnie, you're known as a Democrat supporter. And here you are, somebody, if you like, on the left, in your case, on the right, in Peter's case, of America's politics, telling me degrees of difference, only not about Barack Obama. Neither of you believe that he's doing the job.
I mean, I think there's a tremendous amount of disappointment on the part of progressives on what he has done. He has been so linked to Wall Street and so unwilling to make the kind of quote-unquote change everybody believed he was going to deliver when he won in November. So I think that there's a sense of sort of frustration with that. And making nice with Wall Street hasn't done much for producing a change in the economy. And while what I hear from Peter is that we're spending, what I think is the difference is is that there are certain things we must invest in, Peter, if we're going to see an economic change that's going to make a difference and produce jobs. There's a difference between spending and investing.
I agree, but remember,
ask your own family.
Has to come
ask your
from
own
savings,
family, Peter.
And it has to be made in the private sector. It's not going to be made by the government. But I agree with one thing that you're saying. Barack Obama is in bed with Wall Street, just like George Bush. He's getting the same bad advice from people at Goldman Sachs and other firms. You've got Wall Street and government working together to destroy the United States. They are undermining the real economy. They are transferring the wealth of this country to themselves. We got to get away from this type of economy. We have to let banks fail. We can't keep bailing out reckless
Peter, there's
people
a part
on Wall
of me
Street
that agrees
who drank
with you.
all that government Kool-Aid and who made bad decisions based on Fed policy. They need to be allowed to fail. We need to clean house in Wall Street. We need to let these companies go out of business.
Peter, let's get the response
George,
from Arnie.
there's a lot that Peter is saying that is absolutely true, and here's what's so scary. We knew last year when we were bailing out all those banks that there was this, quote, concept of too big to fail. Do you realize today that the banks that are standing are bigger? If it was too big to fail, then what did we do?
I think Peter would agree with you about that. You would have let the banks fail, Peter, wouldn't you?
I would have, yes. I would have let all those investment banks go under. Now it's an even bigger problem. We've created an even bigger moral hazard than the one that existed before. We can't have capitalism where you take away the risk. You know, if you're going to have private profit, then the people who bet wrong have to lose. And the government has to recognize that.
We know, talk forever about what we call the global financial crisis, what you call, whatever you call it in America, the bailout, the stimulus package, whatever. But there are other areas of American policy and life where Obama is copping stick as well. I read one headline describing his first year as a year of vitriol and rebuff at home and deadlock abroad. Now, apart from the financial crisis, there's Afghanistan he's got staring him in the face. He's got the Middle East situation generally. He's got the whole healthcare problem in America. He may have improved America's standing overseas, but what has he actually achieved? But Peter, what would you point to?
I think he's done some things. I don't like to say that he's achieved anything because achievement generally denotes something positive. I mean, I think he's done a lot of damage since he's been president. He hasn't done anything positive for the economy. He's helped worsen the problem that he inherited. Meanwhile, you know, he's proposing all sorts of ways to increase our problems by further burdening our economy with more excessive regulation that's at the source of our problems. He wants to socialize more American industries.
Peter, don't say
He's
that.
socializing the housing industry, the auto industry, the insurance industry, the banking industry. He wants to socialize the health insurance industry. You know, the reason that health care is so expensive, it's the same reason that education is so expensive. It's because of excess government involvement. Government subsidies, government...
it sounds to me, Arnie, as though Peter is suggesting that Barack Obama is a closet socialist.
He's so far from it, and that's the problem. And the point is that what we know is that since the repeal of Glass-Steagall in 1999, we have seen so much deregulation that was the problem. It wasn't over-regulation, Peter.
No.
Peter, it was the exact opposite. We became the weak link in the financial markets because of the failure to regulate.
But the problem was the cheap interest rates of Alan Greenspan, and the problem was you had entities like Fannie and Freddie, which were government entities that were guaranteeing mortgages. That was the problem. And you had the government guaranteeing deposits.
Well, let's
and once you
future.
Let the banks take those government-guaranteed deposits and gamble with them, you have a problem. But at the root of the problem was the government guarantees. And that's because I understood what the government was doing. That's why I'm one of the only people in this country that accurately predicted everything that happened in 2008.
Let's
George, you didn't listen to me.
I was warning about the financial crisis for years because I understood the damage the government was doing to the economy.
You sound like a couple of planet